So I just had like a good session with my son's therapist, Daryl, and he said something that really moved me, something I wasn't really expecting. We were talking about my kids and getting them on a program and getting them right and tight. And he said to me, a lot of people should really be grateful, my John, you've done so much for the condition. And I was just kind of like, what have I really done with this condition? And he's like, no, you take for granted that, you spoke about this condition in a time when it was taboo, and you walked people through your journey and you gave people hope. Like, you showed people that if you do this and you get your kids involved in this, the signs and, the evidence is there that you can change your child's life. So, when he said this, it got me emotional, to be honest with you, because, for me, as I always say, my covenant was with God. And I said, God, if you help me get my kids right, then that's the only reward I need. I don't need a trophy, or I don't need to be acknowledged, or I don't need to be thanked by people. But when he said that, it really made me think that we need people in Zimbabwe who stand for something. Because imagine if I hadn't raised all the awareness for autism alongside a lot of other people who've obviously supported, the condition and invested so much time and have studied it and are working and seeing all these kids at all different, stages of the condition. So many kids would have just been lost. So many kids' destinies would have just been lost. The devil would have just successfully put X's on so many kids and just made them write-offs. He said to me, so many kids would have been hidden in 2026. You don't know. And he said so many people are making a life now. So he was also saying that, now a lot of people have clinics and schools that tend and look and cater to, these very special kids, And he was like, and you underestimate the fact that, so many different moms coming together and talking about that has helped do that, because a lot of people kind of keep it hidden. So I just really wanted to encourage, Zimbabweans today to say, God loves us, and God has a plan for all the kids of Zimbabwe. There isn't a child that God has written off or said you are not worthy, and my prayer really is for all these little kids that their future can be as bright as it's supposed to be, as fulfilling as it's supposed to be. I'm still so grateful when I get so many examples of kids that we've met or parents who've experienced and the changes and the transformations that have happened in their kids' life. I'm humbled. Really, I'm humbled. But I also am encouraged to say that there's just so much more we can do in Zimbabwe for these kids. There's so much more. We have such a duty to really create the Zimbabwe that they need, because their futures are there and they're bright and the evidence is there.